thought Joe Burrow threw that pass, the interception for the touchdown like you did, that little shot put thing he was working on.
Yeah, I don't care for Joe Burrow. I don't watch him.
You don't watch Joe Burrow, okay?
No, I don't care for him. He thinks he's a wide. He runs around like he's a wide receiver. He's got haircut. He's got fancy hair, and he's running around in fancy clothes and fur coats.
He doesn't have any
if you're gonna play, if you're gonna dress like that, step on outside in the slot and be a receiver. This isn't how quarterbacks. Josh Allen's how quarterbacks are supposed to look. Matthew Stafford, me, Peyton. That's how quarterbacks supposed to look. Not like Joe Burrow. That's you're either going to be a quarterback or you're going to be a wide receiver. Pick a route.
Yeah. And he doesn't even. Joe Burrow doesn't even have any kids yet. I mean, how are you going to play the quarterback position with no kids?
About the NFL, I was going to talk about Fire Stefanski, but I'll wait. Different day, different time, right? My opinion on it. But I'm going to talk about Quentin Jammer, what he said at the end. We're going to talk a lot about Hurts, a lot about what Phillip Rivers coming back, a little bit about that and what he said about Joe Burrow. So I'll start off with Jalen Hurts. We get to Phillip Rivers coming back, then immediately into the Burrow comments that y'all see before the video, and then I'll get to what Quentin Jammer said, right? So I didn't watch the game last night. I see some highlights. And I'm going to say this today about A.J. Brown. I'm a huge A.J. Brown fan as a player and as the person that he is. His story is incredible. He just seemed like a real good dude, bro. Now, is he got some devious receivers, tendencies? Yeah, that come with being a receiver, right? Which we're going to talk about later. But, he dropped those balls. I'm going to say something about receiving. When you don't have consistent quarterback play and you and the quarterback ain't on that same wavelength, and I ain't talking about rotating in quarterbacks. When you and the quarterback ain't, on the same wavelength or his accuracy is erratic, you're going to drop balls. Simple as that. That's the thing about it. That's what people don't talk about. Oh, man, the quarterback finally threw a good ball, and then he finally threw it to him, and he dropped it. Yeah, motherfucker, he ain't usually throwing me these balls in game situations. You know what I'm saying? He don't throw me these balls in game situations. All of a sudden, he throwing these balls I got to catch. Like, I don't have a rhythm. So a quarterback's consistency and accuracy and his consistency and ball placement and the faith that a receiver got to have with a quarterback, even in today where it's defensive receiver, it's a must. So you'll see drops from great receivers and big-time receivers when the quarterback play is erratic or is inconsistent, right? So, but it's Jalen Hurts. Ain't playing well. Everybody can't wait to knock him. Everybody can't wait to see him fall. And this is just what I be saying, man. You get more respect. You know what I'm saying? You get more respect as a human when you cuss motherfuckers out. You get more respect when you threaten to break somebody's neck. You get more respect when people fear you. And that ain't got really nothing to do with the person. They don't have nothing to do with the person. They got something to do with humanity. Because I talked about the same thing with Russell Wilson. Super nice guy. We know what the Bible say. You being too nice, you can miss your blessings and still be stressing, right? But Jalen Hurts, you got Cam Newton attacking him, or he not that, and that's just coontivity in my opinion. That's flat out coontivity, man. Whatever you got going on with Gilly, that's a lot of jealousy. Well, he got a Super Bowl, and I didn't get a Super Bowl. Well, at the end of the day, we all dealt a different deck of cards, bro. Oh, he's not that good, and you only had those conversations about black quarterbacks. Cam should have just stayed. There's no, hey, this is what I believe. Hey, prove me wrong, or whatever. Stayed on some type of code. Most of them people, them brothers you see on TV, they don't own no type of code. It's vitriol, it's hatred, and I agree with a lot of the current athletes that a lot of them old ninjas be hating to keep it a bean. It come from a place of hate. But this is a stand-up brother. If y'all had daughters, you wouldn't mind this brother, your daughter bringing this brother home. He's played very, very well. Should have been the MVP of the other Super Bowl. They failed now. We seen them, sputter before with the offensive coordinator that was, before Kellen Moore. Right? And I told you he ain't that good. And they just can't wait to say, what about Joe Burrow? Motherfucker threw 2 picks. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it real. Patrick Mahomes ain't having the greatest year. Say what you said about Baker Mayfield. He done flaked off a lot. It happens, bro. Yeah, Jalen Hurts may not be in the top 10 or 3% of quarterbacks. He may not be a Mahomes. He may not be a Manning. He may not be a Brady. He may be struggling with this new offensive coordinator. You know? Saquon is struggling. No quarterback, no player can do it by itself. But the way people going out their way to assassinate his character, you never see that happen to these other quarterbacks. You never see it in this type of way. And the thing about it, it'd be one thing if he was a fucking dick or an asshole. This man is a good brother. He takes it in stride, and when the block got hot on Carson Wentz in that same situation, his block was never as hot as Jalen Hurts. It's just in its form, not what Philadelphia did to Carson Wentz, but just in general, everybody got a lot of vitriol towards Jalen Hurts outside of the city of brotherly love, right? I think they figured they like, all right, fuck, you know. But everybody looking to tear this man down. And that same similar heat that Carson Wentz was getting from Philadelphia fans, he faltered, he folded. You gotta remember, Jalen Hurts was giving that same heat that year they had that other offensive coordinator when Shane Steichen left. He was getting that same heat. He persevered, man. That brother a strong brother, man. It's a representation, you know, obviously on a larger and a more bigger financial scale than a lot of the brothers. That's a representation of what we go through every day in this country. Every day we got to be 10 times greater just to get average credit. You know what I'm saying? Every day we got to be 5 times as qualified just and have the right name and not be too ghetto or be too ethnic or unorthodox name just to get an interview. You know what I'm saying? So no, I'm not about to tear down Jalen Hurts. Everybody had up and down and good and bad years and all that type of stuff. So be it. Y'all ain't tearing down my homeboy for then. Burrow can't stay healthy. Don't he need to retire or something? So no, he had a bad year. They still got the lead. Where my homeboy at? And there's no disrespect to my homeboy. Baker and them 7-6. I don't give a fuck how many injuries they had. But I will say this in his defense, and like I said, I love A.J. Brown. But I think the worst thing Philadelphia did was not trade away A.J. Brown. I think that's the worst thing they did. They should have traded that man away. But I'll leave it at that. All right. So we'll talk about Phillip Rivers, right? So he gets in here, you know, he unretired. He must play for the Colts. He must know the system pretty well. So he's coming back, join their practice squad. They got absolutely no quarterbacks left. I believe he coaches high school football, 44 years old out there in California. So got about 11,000 kids. Adopted some was, I think, with him and his wife. But I want to get to the point where, and he's not going to say the coach season, I want to get to the point where this individual said that, you know, he don't like Joe Burrow because he acts like a receiver. Let me say this. I was listening to this and, man, I thought he was going to say YN. Basically, he said Joe Burrow don't act like a white boy. He trying to act like a black person. He that in so many words, and then at the end, if you really caught it, and I didn't say this in my short, I caught it at the end when I re-listened to it. The radio host says that he's not even married, and that's why I did that video on Free Game 89 about marriage. Marriage is a corporate thing, right? Marriage is, if you're gonna get most real alpha and sigma males, they don't get married unless it's for financial reasons only, right? And financial reasons ain't just marrying and, you know, 2 families coming together to make a merger or make a powerhouse like Netflix and Warner Brothers or whatever happened, Paramount, Warner Brothers. That's not what it is. It's pretty much you have to be married to advance in careers. It's like Justin Herbert having to cut his hair. Now he's starting to get some commercials and shit. Because, you know, they want you to cut your hair. They want you to be married. They want you to be a representation of the nuclear family, right? That's what they want to really make you the face of a league. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want. They want a good old smiling Brad married to a good old Becky. And it's for corporate reasons only. So a lot of those dudes who don't really get as many commercial appeals like Lamar Jackson or, you know, Trevor Lawrence because of the hair, or these guys that's not choosing not to get married, there's corporate implications about that. It's the reason why LeBron probably married Savannah. Y'all think because he loved her. No, it's a corporate business. It's the reason why Cory Booker, when people say he's a switch hitter, but he got married to a woman, because he may be making an important run in office. You know, it's important, you know, a lot of these guys got to be married just to be the face of the league or to be popular and be pushed. Don't think it's all about skills. It's all, you know, no. So you got to remember that. But he said he don't like the way that, you know, Joe Burrow, basically he said Joe Burrow don't act like a white boy. He don't act like Peyton. He don't act like Tom. You know, no, hey, if I'm Joe Burrow, man, I got one life to live. And if I want to buy a Batmobile, I want to dress with swagger. I want to dress fly. And I know before somebody said, oh, he don't have no problem with Travis Kelce. Kelce a tight end. You know, a quarterback, you know, at the end of the day, they seeing black people take over the quarterback position. They seeing mobility take over the quarterback position. And then you see a guy like Joe Burrow who swagged out like that. He not going to flip the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift switch. So basically we were saying that he wasn't black enough. And that's exactly what, when he said it, that's exactly what he meant. I thought he was going to say YN. So a lot of times if you listen to a lot of these people talk, and I like Phillip Rivers coming up. I ain't got nothing against him. I'm telling y'all, man, a lot of these guys in these locker rooms, a lot of these black folks in these locker rooms, it's a lot of more Kerry Collins out there than people know. And that people know the reference, they know the reference, they don't. I'm not going to elaborate on it. You know? These players in these locker rooms, when Drew Brees started saying that little racist shit he was saying a couple years ago, you know that when you work with people, you fraternize with people, you talk with people, especially in some of the socials in the field, you know who the biggest and the racists are. You gotta remember, Josh Allen it was a bunch of him dropping the N-words on social media. Remember that? They buried that with the Josh Giddey shit. They always give forgiveness. They don't give black men forgive. We don't have a large area for margin, a large, you know, space for margin. You got to remember that. They forgive they shit. Dante DiVincenzo was throwing the N-word around. And black people quicker to forgive than other brads. But that's all I had to say about it. I mean, to me, it sounds like once you be a white boy and conduct yourself the way you're supposed to be a white boy. So he basically calling them brads Malibu's most wanted. You got to take that way from Jared Goff and give it to Joe Burrow, right? And then Quentin Jammer said in the 2011 season, I believe he was drafted in 2002. I remember a lot of Detroit Lions fans wanted him. And I remember even back then as a teenager. Yeah, I forget what college he went to. He was a really good corner in 2011. Obviously, he had been in the league almost 10 years. He said he was drunk, you know, more than half the games. He said he was drunk and he was rated the corner. They went back and he was rated the worst corner in the NFL that season. So, I mean, a lot of people deal with stuff. I think when people don't understand why athletes smoke weed or athletes drink, when you put your body through that amount of abuse, a lot of y'all who ain't played high school, college, y'all ain't played intramural, any type of sport, there's a lot of abuse that comes to the body, so you look for an outlet. Painkillers, you really don't want to train them, but they only help so much. Biofreeze and shit only help so much. Cold plunges only help so much. You know, so a lot of dudes be turning that. They you know, that money make their family and friends turn against them. You start to see who really fuck with you over that money. Then you got to understand, a lot of these niggas spreading themselves around sexually. Then, you know, you feel unfulfilled sexually when you start sleeping around with women and shit. It's a lot be going on, bro. Guess what? It's a little racial innuendos in the workplace there too. You know what I'm saying? You dealing with little, you know, stresses right here and there, kid. So, yeah, man, I found it, you know, hopefully he got the help that he needed, though. That's what I will say. Hopefully he got the help that he needed. So I found that was interesting. But, hey, let me know what you girls and guys think. Hit the link tree. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Amazon, Kick. Join the Patreon. Peace.